This is a fusion dish between Arabic and French cuisine. Although mushrooms and vermouth are certainly not part of Arabic cuisine, neither is ras al hanout part of French cuisine, but the balance here is elegant and delicious. The seasoning is not overpowering, despite how it might appear when you see the video. The end result is restrained and more sophisticated than you could imagine. Also, I'm showing you a very simple plating that anyone can do here, but there are a few notes at the end of the video for bringing this up to the standards of a fine dining restaurant if you feel like taking it even further.
I have the cinnamon stick and cardamom pods here, and I have the cumin seeds standing by. This is a dried red serrano chili. This is the kind I recommend you use and dry them yourself. I'm going to split it in half, and I'm going to put the lower half in here. I'm going to break it up just a little bit, and we're going to toast this part in a hot pan first, and then when this is toasted, we're going to take it out and we're going to put the cumin seeds in, but only for a few seconds because we just want to darken these a little bit. We can make sure we don't burn them. Now, toast these fairly aggressively, but it won't take very long. The chili pepper, the way to tell when it's done is to keep an eye on the cinnamon stick. When you start to see some browning on that, it's done. It shouldn't take more than 30 or 40 seconds. The pan is hot. Okay, this is done. I'm going to transfer this. It's smoking. Now, the cumin seeds, you're going to have to watch these very carefully to make sure they don't burn. This will only take a few seconds. Just start to pop. They're done. I'm going to add them in with the other seasonings. We're going to go in with the spice grinder. Into the spice grinder, I've got the cardamom, the chilies, and the cumin that we just toasted. Now I'm going to add to it the paprika, ground ginger, and coarse salt. The reason I'm using coarse salt is that the properties of the abrasive properties will help grind up the chili. Then next we're going to sift these spices through a fine mesh sieve to get rid of any large pieces, any large chunks, especially because we've got the red chili in there, and we've got the cardamom that have parts that won't grind up very well. We want to make this smooth to make it professional and nice. And now we'll take care of the other spice mixture. I have a dried sweet red chili. I'm going to take and break this in half too. This is more than we need for this dish. The rest of it we'll just save for another time. And I have dried rose petals, or rose buds. And the amount that you add to this is difficult to estimate because they don't weigh enough that you can really weigh them. Just look, I mean, I'm putting in a couple tablespoons, I suppose. And you're going to grind these up together too. So now we have our two spice components. We're just going to set these aside for now and begin working on the chicken. I'm going to be using skin-on chicken breasts, which means I've got crowns here, which are the two breasts, and the rib cage still attached. You can do this from a whole chicken as well if you can't buy crowns, which sometimes are hard to buy. Basically, just take a knife, you come in close to the bone. Okay, you want to trim the edges off, and there's this tendon that's in each piece that has to come out. It's right here. It runs right along the front of this little piece here. So take this, get rid of this, because this is going to be a tough, nasty fiber that won't break down. Just get rid of that, and the same thing for all of them. Also trim off. You got this little flap of fat, extra piece here. Get rid of this. Just toss it. So trim up each of the pieces like that. And then into a small roasting pan, I've got the two carcasses, the rib meat, and all the little trimmings, the tendons and the fat and everything. And this is going to get roasted off in the oven to help make. Put some plastic film down. We put the chicken piece skin side down on it. Fold this over a little bit, and as in the other video I showed you, your purpose here is twofold. Of course, you want to make it even, but you also want to break down some of these fibers to help tenderize the chicken. not looking to make a super thin paillard here. This is going to have maybe like 1/4 inch thick. Okay. Now we've got this rose and chili spice mix that we made earlier. And this is going to go on the inside. So you use about 1/4 of this on each piece, and then it'll work out right. And then you're going to roll it up. You want to make sure that the skin side stays out on the outside. It's a little bit tricky to do. Not too hard. Once you do a couple of them, you'll find it's not too bad. What you want is you want the skin to be around the outside as much as possible. It's not going to be completely possible no matter what you do, because the skin isn't exactly the same shape. But roll it, try to make it like a cigar, try to make it even as much as you can. Okay, like this. Now we're going to refrigerate this a little bit to let it kind of seal together, and we'll of course repeat the same thing for all the other pieces. After 45 minutes of roasting in the oven, it comes out, and you can see there's chicken fat on here. I'm going to pour this out. Now that these chicken cigars, so to speak, have firmed up in the refrigerator, I'm going to unwrap them, leave them on the plate. I've got this spice mixture with a cardamom and cinnamon that we roasted and ground up earlier. Put this over the top and turn it around in here. And coat it as evenly as possible. There's going to be some spice left over on the plate, but that's okay. We'll use that later. You get the idea. And this is what we end up with after uncoated it. Now on top of the stove, butter. And cloves of garlic. Foams up well. Now we add the mushrooms. Make sure that you do not have a pan that's too small. Make sure the mushrooms aren't stacked up on top of each other. They need to be in a single layer, or they won't brown nicely. And what I did here is I transferred the chicken from that plate into a roasting dish. Make sure that there's some space between the chicken, that it's not touching each other. And this is going to be roasted in the oven. And you've got some good color on these mushrooms. We've got this plate that has the extra spices that didn't stick to the chicken on it. What I'm going to do is just use the vermouth to wash this off and add this in with the mushrooms. So it's got a little bit of spice in with the mushrooms as well. Then we're going to add these chicken carcass pieces. Just the carcass pieces, not the fat and the other trimmings, because those will be too hard to remove. And put the lid on this, turn the heat down, and let it sit. And the mushrooms continue to cook with the chicken carcass and the garlic in there. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't dry out completely, keep the lid on it. Also during this time we need to begin cooking the carrots and the zucchini as part of the garnish, and we're just going to saute these in butter. The carrots go first because they're going to take longer to cook, of course. Back to the stove, I've got the carrots just starting to cook in some butter. I'm going to put a lid on this and let these continue. See, when it's very close to dryness on the mushrooms, you can see there's not a lot of moisture here left. That's fine. Kill the heat, leave the lid off, and let them just finish drying out like this. We're not going to do anything else to them. We're just going to put them to the side and wait until we're ready to plate. At the back of the stove, when the carrots are about halfway cooked, we add the zucchini, and we'll Give it a stir. And return the lid. When the 16 minutes is up, we take the chicken out of the oven and transfer it over to a plate, let it cool.
Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.